Okie dokie, welcome back. I'm continuing working on the motor and kind of trying to figure out what needs to be done. So what did I do this evening? I laid out and cut the ignition wires, and I kind of wanted to run them so they go through nicely into here where it was tight. I haven't put the terminals on. I'm still waiting for micro sensors before I can bolt all that back in. I cut these cables 3.5 feet, and that gave me 24 inches on the inside, so kind of running it the long way. They're all the same, so this way everything can be swapped left and right, up and down. And even out here, that gives me 18 inches out here, and I'm running them that way just so I have something to secure them to. Then I think that'll work out good. Then I started running the sensor wires for the EGTs and CHTs, and I'm gonna have like a service loop over here that goes into there. I played with my little label maker to try and match the ones that George made, and I'm still kind of thinking this through. The service loop for this one is over here, and then it'll run down, and all of the connections will be kind of inside underneath the heat sinks there. And then the next big thing is the throttle and the mixture cable, but unfortunately I can't put those in until I have the dash panel back, and they're going to tie into the servo, the throttle servo, obviously. So I started looking at that. I got the pieces, the throttle servo itself, some fancy nuts stuff, some RANS pieces, some studs, and if I understand it correctly, 3 of these studs need to be pulled out and replaced with the longer ones so you can mount the bracket. But I kind of just started to look at that. So I keep going back and forth to the wiring, you know, thinking about it, what's the best way. Starter wires, I'm gonna probably go with a P-clamp here. Alternator wire is gonna go back to the other side. I'm kind of picky about neat wiring, so I'm really trying to think it through. I don't want to see it or see as little as possible. I want it accessible, so if we need to replace a sensor, I'm hoping to be able to just loosen it on the firewall side, pull it through, remove it, replace it, and put it back. Probably put some heat sleeving on this side. Alternator wire is going to run that way. So it's kind of always in the back of my head until I decide exactly how I'm gonna do it, but I think I got a pretty good plan. So while that's brewing in the back of my head, I am going to do the throttle body, but not tonight. 11 o'clock again. Tomorrow's Saturday, so hopefully I'll get a good day in and keep you posted. Thank you. Yeah, well, that 11 o'clock turned into 1:30, me procrastinating, not being able to go to bed. So I kept looking and poking and wire tying. One small change that I made is I actually twisted these 2 oil hoses around each other. They actually fit even better that way. So I haven't seen anybody else do this, but I think this is a great solution. It allows you to use the same straight AN fittings that it comes with, and the solution that I came up with is basically just swapping these 2. You can do that according to the oil filter manufacturer. But all right, so back to this. I guess you gotta pull these studs out, and the best 5/16 coarse thread nuts that I could find is that. And I'm looking at this bracket, and it really has a sharp edge on it, and like some of the other stuff that I did, I might take it to the shop and just knock that sharp edge off of it to give it the Derrick touch and clean it up. That's it for now. Yeah, all I did was knock the edge off of it, so when I reach my hand in there, I scrape it and I don't end up with more scars. And I'll I'll Scotch-Brite the edge. On where the washer goes, like it doesn't, the washer still sits on all of the flat meat, so that was just something I wanted to be sure. I think I learned something new with these studs, and I put this one in and it went in real easy, and then I happened to put one in the other way and it didn't go easy, and I think there's like a locking thread on it, which makes sense. So if you look carefully, oops, one side of the threads is longer than the other. And the same goes for the studs that came out of it. Like these have, whatever, over an inch of threads, and the other side have 7/8. I believe the longer side of the threads go in, and that's also the one that has, that doesn't go in easily. It has like a locking mechanism on it. And that makes sense because obviously you want the studs to stay in there and not pull out. So I'm going with that. Pretty confident I did that right. It's just when those went in and there was hesitation, I seriously felt like I was cross-threading it, and that was not a comforting feeling going into the engine, but they felt consistently going in tight the way the other ones went coming out. And I basically sunk them in about as far as the other ones, so 3/8 of the threads stick out, and we'll continue from there. That was pretty uneventful. That just went up there. The nuts that are gonna go on there are these guys here, and I'm just gonna hold off until I know they're on for good. I want you to torque those to 205 inch-pounds. And next up is these little brackets that you gotta cut to adapt these things to it. So it actually, oh, no, I misplaced it. Yeah, I did cut one. I was trying to figure out if it looks like it's going to be tight up there. And I think you're going to put it into one hole and then line it up and drill the other hole. That's my guess. Alrighty, I got as far as cutting the two brackets, 1¼ inches wide, and sourcing hardware in the other brackets, marking them for the holes. But I didn't drill the holes. I got totally derailed by, oh, let me hook up the starter wire. So I did that, and that led to some stuff back here that led to me labeling the fuse box. I remember what's what. That led to putting the connectors on the 8-gauge wire going into my little fuse / shunt box, wired up the alternator under there, and then seriously got this ready to wire the sensor. So I'm just going to confirm with George that the way he has it wired is yellow to yellow and red to red. I don't know much about these thermocouple sensors, but they are, there is a polarity. One wire, which if you Google it, sometimes it's negative, it's positive, is actually magnetic. So in this case, both DGT and CHT are, the red wire is the iron wire, or the magnetic one, which I guess would be positive. But before I go cutting those, because they're all staggered, I'm gonna have it pretty nicely. I also wrapped a little 1-finger loop around them all, which I almost forgot. Yeah, it's almost 1 o'clock again, so I'm gonna call it a night, and George and I are gonna bring that stand back tomorrow. So I'm gonna pick his brain on seeing if those are, you know, red to red, yellow to yellow. I also put the little labels on here for the heat shrink. I put little labels on here for the spark plugs. Really kind of laid out all of the wiring in here, so really excited about that. This is going to be the manifold pressure sensor, so that hose is going to go just loop like this. This is going to be the oil pressure sensor. So that hose is just going to go from here to where that little coupling is. And the fuel pressure, I'm going to buy another one of those show plane gadget thingies. I'm going to put that here and direct it down to this. I'm going to put a T, so one hose comes up there to that and the other hose goes down. And I'm still figuring out the fuel flow sensor, the FT60 red box. All right, I'm babbling. Good night. I got the passenger side wired, put the heat shrink sleeving all over it. Kind of did a little bit of practicing. Messed up a few times, learned a few things. Now I'm gonna do the driver's side. Few things that are noteworthy is that I learned, and none of these are the same. I don't know if it's intentional or not. The CHT has one screw with a clinch nut on it, which is kind of cool. One missing. They all have ring terminals on it. The EGTs, and these are a 6/32 screw, so I got all the hardware ready just to find out when I did the first EGT that these are actually smaller, so I needed 4/40 hardware for that. Fortunately, I was well stocked on my little assortment kits, so I had that, but that was a surprise. Then the bigger surprise was, and you got to be careful, like I said, the red wire is the magnetic wire, and I literally mean like it's magnetic, like you can hang a magnet from it. On the yellow wire, you can't, and that applies to actually both of these. But notice that they're backwards. On this one, the red wire is longer. On this one, the yellow wire is longer. So if you go and pre-cut all of them, you can, do it, mess it up. So no clinch nuts on these. One clinch nut on the CHT. Don't know why. And also the distance, if you're careful about the little fire sleeve that goes over it. So this one's no problem because you can have your wire come in, so you can wire tie it all. This one here, by the time you put a 1/4 inch over here, you're gonna cut this end really short to be able to cover it. So I don't know why, but that's how they do it. Maybe it's the run of the sensors, maybe there's a better reason for it, but those are some of the things that I noticed. All right, time to do some wiring. To get these little finger tight things, because you never get them that tight and then they always unravel, I used a magic marker, and that gave it a nice symmetrical, even curly pig's tail in it. Another thing that I was wondering is the sensors come with these little wire ties, nylon I assume, but they give you only the exact amount, so if you mess up, you're done. At work, we use these Panduit nylon wire ties, so I just did a quick test and I basically just hit them with the heat gun, and it looks like they have the same characteristics. Concern obviously being, I used everything that they supplied there, figuring, that engineered, but I will be using some of mine up inside there, so I just want to make sure they hold up. Time will tell.